time to talk about my favorite thing, eyeshadow palettes. Duh. I love eyeshadow palettes. Okay, so today I'm doing the eyeshadow palette tag round 2, and this is created by Samantha March and Allie Lines, and there is a first installment, and I'm at this point now I'm like 95% sure I did the first installment because that would seem like a video I would do. So if I can find it, I'll link it up there. So let's go ahead and get going on this tag. Hey guys, this is Ashley. Welcome on back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're older but goodie, welcome back. My name is Ashley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy. I love makeup. That's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup. But please just call me Ash or Ashley, and eyeshadow is my jam. Like I just mentioned, one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm doing an eyeshadow palette tag, and this is the second go round, and I have the questions right here on my phone. So Samantha March and Allie Lines, as I just mentioned, were the creators of this tag, and they created the questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the first question is, what is my all-time favorite palette? And you know what? I'm just going to have to go ahead and give it to her. Divine Rose 2. So this is Mothership 8, and she's bae, okay? I love this palette. I have so much fun using this palette. Of course, we have the shade Extraterrestrial. That is a beautiful multi-chrome that shifts green. You can see the dent. You can see a little dent in it. And what I especially love about this multi-chrome is that it has such a pigment to it, but when you blend it out, you don't get like a line of demarcation that you a lot of times get from bolder multi-chromes that have like a black base. This one just stays true to color and blends right on out. You don't get a harsh line or anything like that from the base, so I really do appreciate it. You have beautiful shades like this peachy one, and I hardly know the names of any of the shades, so that's fine. And you can use it as a blush. I love this extreme aubergine or shade also that you can put it in a corner, and you just have some beautiful shadows. And this bronze shade, Eleganza as well. What I think this is like Divine Mink or something. I don't know. Like I said, I can't remember the names of the shade. That one does particularly have hard pan, but overall, this is one of my favorite palettes. Sometimes if I don't know what to do, I'm putting this on. I kind of consider it like a neutral palette for me too, because these tones just look so well or so good on my skin complexion, and it's gorgeous. The formula is top tier. So I just love it so I really do have to give it to this particular palette as an all-time favorite. So a new favorite in my collection, and this palette kind of lives rent-free. A lot of palettes live rent-free in my brain, but this one, Amulet New. First of all, the packaging is gorgeous. This is by Adept Cosmetics, and this is the deep version, and it is beautiful. It is jewel toned, it is grungy. We have a lot of fabulous shimmers, and you can get some really great looks out of this palette. And every time I wear this palette, people just kind of swear that I have taken so much time to do my eyeshadow, and that is just not the case. Like I did mention before, this one is in the shade Deep, and the difference is that we have a navy blue matte. I love navy blue mattes, and the shade Re, it's just really gorgeous. I didn't know if I was going to swatch anything, but that is a beautiful kind of purpley greeny multi-chrome. And you have the shade Hawthorne that has a little bit more lime green to it. These two shades together are just stunning. Then you have Anubis as well. And the shimmers are just so soft and finely milled, and they don't take a lot of effort to apply at all. I mean, they are just really, really gorgeous. And this is another multi-chrome too. That's a shade Bassett. And I like the gray matte as well. I mean, you just have so many options. It's grungy. The color story is unique. So yeah, a new favorite for sure. Next up is a palette that you keep for the memories, and definitely one that I'm keeping around for the memories is the Urban Decay Naked. And this is the original. This is the original because they have actually discontinued this particular palette, and now they have an original like remastered, but this is the original with that velvet packaging, and you can see all the lint that is on the packaging. And then we have this it was a beautiful palette and it was solid. You know what I mean? I don't use it anymore, and I definitely have better formulas as of now. But we have that shade in the center called Half Baked, and that's the one that kind of, you see the oil kind of spilled out of it. And you could definitely get that gold shade as a free gift with basically anything that you purchase with Urban Decay. We have some more mauvier tones. We have some more, just a neutral palette. And this was like the palette that just like kind of broke all the standards when it came to eyeshadow, because they were still pretty much in, like, MAC was doing quads, just like some little 4x4 palettes. They didn't really have names, you know, like, but this is when we first started seeing cohesive eyeshadow palettes, and then you started kind of getting a little bit more bang for your buck, because I want to say this was like in the $45 range, and you're getting these mini shadows where before, you know, you were spending like $12 a pop before shadows like this. So definitely one I'm keeping around for memories. For this particular category, I really had to think, and this is the underrated category. And so I feel like this particular palette, Baroque by ColourPop, is really underrated. They really shocked and amazed me when it came to this palette. I feel like this palette did get a good amount of hype, but this palette was really unique. It's cool tone, but it's like gray, it's purple, it's blue at the same time. And then you had a lot of different interesting, unique shimmers. Some of them were a little bit more topper. You also had some duochromes. You had your mattes with the sparkle, or I think they were called the, what are they called? The satin? No, they weren't called satin mattes. I don't remember what they were called. The sequin mattes? Yeah, maybe so. But I just feel like they did such a great job with this. The packaging is everything. I mean, you know, when ColourPop doesn't dupe themselves and they do things right, ooh, it looks like it matches my nails. They just really get it on the head. And I really appreciate this palette. And it is so unique to my collection. I just don't really have anything like this. So I would say that this palette would have to be the most underrated palette in my collection, as far as you should, like, people talk about it. People really don't talk about it a lot, and it's probably because ColourPop just comes out with too much, but this is stunning. So this particular palette, it was a favorite for a lot of people, but for me, it really wasn't a favorite, and I really had to decide if I was going to purchase it. But the question is, a favorite palette that you can't get rid of. So if this tag had came out maybe like a month early, I would have had a definitive, and it was a palette that actually did finally declutter after like 4 years, which was the Uma Beauty Black Magic palette, and it was a green one. The only reason I kept it was for the packaging. But next up in my collection, if this is a palette, it's not a favorite, but I can't get rid of it, because it's not a bad palette, it's just not my favorite palette, and the quality is good on it, but it would be the Soft Glam by ABH. So this is what, okay. I didn't drop it, but the little thing dropped. Okay. So this is what it looks like. You know, just a standard, more rosy tone, neutral palette, you know. I would say that this formula is very nice. I think this was kind of like one of the returns of ABH, because they had kind of missed the mark a little bit prior to this palette. They had Subculture, which I do like, and then they had the Prism palette. The Prism palette color story was great, but I didn't care for the formula of the Prism palette. But this one, like, it was a solid return for ABH, and a lot of people love this palette so much. I like it, but it's just all right. It's nothing, like, I get a beautiful look. Just a beautiful look, but it's nothing for me to be like, oh my gosh, you know. You do have some great browns for the transitions, a couple of wonderful little shimmers, sultry, bronze, rose pink, glistening. But yeah, it's just all right. So it's not a favorite, but I just really can't get rid of it, because it's just like a good little staple neutral palette. But I have neutral palettes that I far more prefer. Alright, so favorite collab. This was so hard, oh my gosh. But we're going to go ahead and give it to the Giant Wolves, okay? Annette's Makeup Corner and Eau Design with the Giant Wolves, because I love this palette when it came out last year. I adore this color story. It makes me so happy. I see so many different looks that I can create with this. And even if she wasn't a part of this palette and this was just Eau Design, it's such a solid palette, and that's what I look like. even if we were just to like take the creator out of it, it's super stunning, super solid. The packaging is everything. The color story is everything. The formula is wonderful. You have a beautiful multi-chrome down at the bottom. I mean, I just really appreciate this palette. It's a color story that just gives me so much, like, it just gives me happiness. It's like, you know, I love some grungy greens. You know, I love some deep berry tones, you know. Like the little blurple situation down here. You know, I love a good multi-chrome, so that's happening for me. Well, I mean, it's just so much that you could do with this palette. I love it. I love how it looks like a little book. It's tight, it's compact. Excellent job, excellent job. So next up would be a 2021 favorite. And this was hard because it was a lot of palettes that I look at my collection, I'm like, that was bomb. But I'm going to give it to Blend Bunny Surge palette, because these type of palettes I don't typically go for. I don't typically go for rainbow-y palettes. I don't typically go for larger palettes. And this is not super large and it's not obnoxious to store. But the color story of this palette is like no other. The tones, the shades, the hues. You can get neutral looks. You can get bold in your face looks. And you get some bright and vibrant looks. And yes, there are a row of neons down here. Yes, there are a row of pastels, but you can go ahead and you can use these in your transitions. You can use this in the transition. You can use them on the lid. You can use this on the lid. You can blend out the other shades. You have your deepening, and then you have a row of beautiful coinciding shimmers. Not to mention, there's so many different ways that you can play with this palette. You can go right down the columns of this palette. You got an instant color story to put in your eyes. You can jump around, and it's beautiful. So many different looks. And this palette looks good on everybody that I've seen put on. The formula is wonderful as well. It layers on top. You don't have to worry about it skipping. I am wearing part of this palette today. I have Alive on my in my crease, and she just did a fabulous job. It's so grungy. It's so unique. And like, these are truly mattes that I just don't have laying around in all of my other palettes. So I really appreciate this palette, and I would have to say, like, definitely a 2021 favorite. I love like the brick background. I love the bunny in the back. I love how it just says Surge across the front. So unique, so different. She really knocked it out the park. I think like blends made her make the people take notice that that was just a standard rainbow palette. But when she came out with this, it was like, you know what? Yes. Okay, so next up is a palette that I didn't expect to love. And this palette, I wasn't going to purchase it when it came out. And I was like, girl, no. And then I started using it. I was like, I like it. But then I started using it, and I was like, I love this. This is like a silent sleeper. Maybe somewhat it could have been in an underrated category too. But it would definitely be the Natasha Denona Trio Chrome palette. This one is stunning. You know, after being... Oh, I was like, why is it look? I was like, what is happening? I was about to get so upset, but hold on. So I told you how I always follow like Julia K. March on Instagram, and she's always creating her own palette. So she had a palette combination with Natasha Denona palettes, and I actually had all of the palettes. It was like Trio Chrome, the purple blue palette, it was the cranberry palette, and the gold palette. So the shades are here, and this is the color story, and I have yet to use it, but maybe one day this week I'll use it. But so some of the shades are right here. So I'm about to have a straight up fit. Like, where are my shadows? But like, I'm about to be hot. You don't even know. I literally forgot that I took this palette apart. Okay, so it is magnetic. So I just took a piece of parchment paper and put it over, and then just used the magnet to pop it out. And it was really easy. And the same with the other palettes. Because this one, oh, but this one does have the holes. But I don't think I necessarily had anything kind of small enough to pop in there. Or you can use like a pen. Anywho. So This palette was a silent sleeper. I mean, you got gorgeous grungy looks with the top row. You can mix and match. You have a lot of different color stories. You know, the multi-chromes were really nice. They weren't like the most multi-chrome or trio chrome or the trio chromes that we see out there, but they laid on the eye so well. And these particular pastel shades, they just work so well on my complexion, because I'll look at, it's not necessarily that I don't like pastel colors, but they just don't always look right on my skin complexion, and these do. And I just have so much fun. I also had a lot of fun pairing this particular palette with the Circle Loco palette. I just think like it's one of my favorite ones. She really took a risk. I was really not feeling it in the beginning, but it turned out to be something that I just really ended up loving, and I still do use this to this day. And you have some beautiful shades, like you have the Scarab, you have Kinetic, and then you have Color Flip. Now I would say, you know, Color Flip right here is something that we've probably seen on the market quite a lot. Kinetic is gorgeous. It doesn't have the most flip, and then Scarab is really pretty as well. But just a super solid palette. Really different. Really was like, Natasha, no girl, no at first, but I really do like it. The mattes just really help kill the palette. So that's what happened to the mattes. It went to my little pre-made palette over there. Alright, so when I thought about it, like, this could have easily came in the Favorite collab, but then it was just like, oh gosh, I don't even know what to pick. But the next one is a palette that sparks joy. And every time I pick up this palette, I feel joy. And I really feel like this is going to be the palette that everybody said they got away. If you did not get this palette on any type of restock, and I think they had like 3 or 4 restocks, it's just like you're kicking yourself. And it would be the Club Nebula by Kaleidos Cosmetics and Angelica Niquez. First of all, packaging 10 out of 10 is Kaleidos. They're coming in with the packaging off the rip. They're known for that with any particular product, whether it's a collab or not. Okay, the color story. Angie did her thing. This, like I said, this palette is just super solid all the way around. Everything works. I don't have any problem. The only shade that I don't know I particularly care for, and that's just me, is 7 out of 9, which would be the light blue. But you know what? I can use it some more. I can pair it with this little corner over here of the palette. And this is the corner that I love so much. These particular matte shades are just so beautiful. The shimmers are beautiful. You can get bold looks. You can get neutral looks. I just have a lot of fun playing with this palette all the time. It sparks joy. It just does. It's just no way. I'm not going to keep saying it. It's just sparks joy. It is what it is. Next up, we have the newest palettes in my collection. So it's actually 2 because they're by the same company, and it was part of a set. And after I was sick at home for like 2.5, almost 3 weeks, and I was watching a lot of the end of year favorite videos, and these 2 palettes were haunting me. And I was like, okay, I need these 2 palettes in my collection. Haven't tried this brand. So it would be the Glam Light, and this would be the Dirty Martini, and then the Chocolate Martini. So let's take the Chocolate Martini first. I got this one. Glam Light had a sale at the, like, sort of beginning of the year, and I want to say they had 35% off, so I got both of the palettes for like $49, and they were both like $35 a piece, so I was really happy with that. So this is beautiful. I thought it's just a beautiful neutral palette. Like, I have used it once. It was stunning. I wore it to work, I think on a 12-hour day. If I could wear a shadow to work on a 12-hour day and it comes back looking like A-okay when I get home, I know it's a good palette, okay? Now my eyeliner might be looking a little crazy down here, and maybe my mascara might be a little smeared because I be going through a lot of stuff when I'm at work, okay? But the shadows itself were perfect, and this is just a beautiful palette. It's like a rosy brown palette, and I felt like this is a neutral palette where it would look good on my complexion, where it has some interesting pops. You have like a little blue pop. That little blue pop kind of reminds me of the Huda Beauty Naughty Nudes, where we have that like magenta bluey duochrome shade in here, but really gorgeous. So rosy brown, I felt like this would be a good particular neutral palette on my complexion. And then, you know, I have a love affair with greens, and honestly everybody kept saying that these 2 palettes were like the best out of the collection. People were like up and down about the wine palette, and then it just seemed like the margarita palette was just like for most people. But these 2 were the sure winners, and this is the Dirty Martini. And you know, I love green eyeshadow, so it's like it's kind of a no-brainer. It does give avocado toast vibes by BH, but I think it's super, super stunning. So really glad to have this in my collection, and I do plan on doing a video with like 2 looks with this, because this is my first time, you know, trying glam light. All right, and for the last question in this tag, it's the first palette that you used in 2022. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Okay, so the first palette that I used on YouTube in 2022 would be my Glam Shop Heathland palette, and it is a gorgeous plummy purple palette. Looks like this with this gorgeous hollow shade in the middle. So I actually wore this in my How Many in 2021 palette, and it will be coming up in a palette rotation. So this is the first palette I wore on YouTube. And then once I got myself together and went back to work after being sick, the first palette that I wore was Divine Rose 2. So that's why I was like, girl, you know it's a favorite. So this is the first palette that I wore in my real life out and about. And it was Divine Rose 2. I wore it to work. So yep, these are my choices. This is once again very fun. It made me think. I had to think about a few things and what I like in my collection and what is just like, okay. But I think at this point, I'm like, I don't have anything in my collection that I just detest. I did a really thorough declutter at the beginning of, well, in the mid part of January. Whenever I started feeling better, I got rid of like 43 palettes, and that's pretty significant for me. Usually it's like 20, but everything that I have at the moment is pretty much sparking joy. So, and if I'm not finding joy as soon as I pick it up, usually I'm getting joy once I start using it. So let me know down below. This look, if you're wondering, it is with like I said, the Surge palette, the Dollhouse palette by Blend Buddy, and we have a couple singles on the eye by Glam Shop, and I did film it. It's in a get ready with me video, so I'm not sure what order. Okay, if this is up first, I'll link it, and then vice versa, I'll link it. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So let me know down below in the comments, like, what is your all-time favorite palette, and what palette did you have that you just did not expect to love? Like, when she bought you, you're like, nah girl, but then you're like, yes, this is it. So give this video a big old thumbs up, hit the notification bell so you know when I come out with another video, which will be very soon, and subscribe to my channel, because you know I would love to have you here in my little makeup family. And with all of that being said, you already know how we gotta end the videos around here. We gotta hit it with the chair dance, hey, 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 chair dance, chair dance, chair dance, hey, chair dance. All right, y'all, bye.